Hello, I'm Devin, integrative health expert, Ayurvedic health advisor, and holistic coach. Welcome to InnerSpark Living from Your True Nature podcast. This is a resource for those ready to gently, naturally, and sustainably restore their energy, their clarity, their health, and their wholeness. Each episode offers grounded, practical guidance and soul deep insight drawn from nature's wisdom, integrative health, and the timeless principles of Ayurveda. Together, we explore real, sustainable self care, healing from the root and how to actually get there, and dissolving the inner barriers that keep you unwell, depleted, and stuck in survival mode. This is an invitation back home to yourself. And now for today's episode. Welcome. Today we are exploring one of my most favorite topics. I could talk about this forever and ever, and that's seasonal living. Now, I imagine that you have something that comes to mind for you when I say seasonal living. And today we're going more deeply into it than you've previously done before. Excuse me a moment. I need to put my glasses on. So we're going more deeply into it than you've previously done before. And right off the bat, it's really important to understand that seasonal living is often misunderstood. But when truly grasped, it's deeply powerful and holds the potential for some serious healing and becoming. We're going to explore seasonal living not from just the aesthetic version, decorating and changing our wardrobes, not the version that lives in food lists and lifestyle swaps on a calendar. These are all really fun, and I highly encourage you to play with these ways of honoring the seasons. They certainly help us to get into the spirit of the flow. Yet seasonal living is something truly more profound and more subtle. And we're going to explore what I mean by that shortly. I want you to hold these notions as we continue our talk today. Seasonal living is to live in rhythm with life itself. It is a remembrance, a refinement, the pathway towards the ever evolving, ever expanding nature of reality. And it's really allowing that which is natural to guide your healing growth and becoming. So the seasons mirror to us our own process. Seasonal living offers us a blueprint, a framework for the soul's maturation process and evolution. Each season carries a specific mood, a specific energy, a specific invitation. True seasonal living isn't just about what you do according to the calendar and what the weather is like outside. It's about how you live, love, and evolve in relationship with life. It is a living relationship with what I call the sacred spiral. And this sacred spiral is always moving, always refining, always guiding. So I wanted to set that groundwork, that foundation before we went any further today. Most people on the planet right now feel tired, scattered, disconnected, overwhelmed, burnt out, unwell, and numb. And because this is so common and such a regular baseline experience, most of us just think that this is normal. This is just life. But the truth is, much of what is being experienced is the result of a disconnection from rhythm. We're taught to stay the same all the time. We are expected to maintain a summer-like output, if you will, every single day of the year, regardless of anything else. We're expected to be consistent, to be productive, to be on. Modern life asks us to override natural fluctuations and then shames us when we struggle, when we can't keep up with that, when we fall ill, because we inevitably will. Overriding nature, overriding natural fluctuations is the surefire way to feeling unwell in body, mind, spirit, energy very quickly. Our world is fast, it's linear, it's disconnected, it's disembodied. And in that world, we override those parts of ourselves that are naturally seasonal and in flux. So, hunger, rest, breath, emotions, intuition, the natural ebb and flow of our energy. You are living in a world that has taught you to mistrust rhythm. And when we mistrust rhythm, we fall out of relationship with the sacred spiral of existence. And like I said, disease is the inevitable result. It could not be any other way. So when we say seasonal living, yes, we are speaking about honoring and living in alignment and in connection with the four seasons of winter, spring, summer, and autumn, as well as their sub seasons. So I teach that there are 8 seasons. But we're also speaking about something much deeper. So these seasons exist in different layers of subtlety, as rather different spectrums of subtlety, as well as different layers. So there are many layers of seasons that we're experiencing at once. And seasons also exist in and of themselves on a spectrum of subtle to gross. So subtle being like really almost like imperceptible, kind of like this really deep feeling into them. And then also a gross manifestation where, it's naked trees and cold in winter and hot and um lots of insects and fruits and vegetables in the summer. So we live within many layered seasons. There's the seasons of the year. Each day has its own seasons. There's the seasons of a lifetime that we go through, the life cycle. Morning is not the same as evening. I think we can all agree on that. From a gross manifestation, what the sun is doing, what the lighting is like, what our energy is like, moving into a more subtle expression and subtle felt sense of the differences. And similarly, winter is not the same as summer. Emergence is not the same as release. Nature is always showing us that life moves in cycles and not straight lines. And this is the sacred spiral of existence where everything is always in motion, always becoming, always shifting, ever evolving, ever expanding. And this is why seasonal living really matters, because it helps us cooperate with the true nature of reality and to live with greater surrender, faith, and ease. It helps us to stop resisting what is natural. It teaches us when to build, when to rest, when to release, when to listen, and to do so in a way that really honors ourselves and gets all of the shaming and the I have to keep up, I have to be this way, all of that nonsense out of the picture. Because when we really stop and pause and feel and see that everything outside of us, like all of these and inside of us, but we resist and fight what's happening inside of us. But when we look around at these forces that are so much greater than us, reality, nature, and how they're doing things and how they've existed, it's like it's just has always existed and will exist long after we're done with these bodies. It's kind of like, what are we doing? Who are we to think that we know better or that we can outsmart this or that this is a sustainable, good way of living and being? Yeah. So everything in life moves in seasons, and healing becomes more possible when we stop resisting that truth. So let's talk about rhythm and what is meant when I say rhythm and what it actually is. Rhythm is the key here, and it's what is underneath all of this. And it's often misunderstood. So rhythm is not a habitual rote routine. It's not rigidity. It's not productivity. It is the natural order and movement of life through you. You are the vessel through which life moves. So this rhythm that is the natural expression and way of reality is seen in your breath, in your sleep and wake cycles, in your digestion, in your emotional waves, your creative energy. It is expansion and contraction, action and rest. And when we live in a way that supports this and allows this, we support healing and vitality. Our minds are clear, our bodies are healthy. And although it may feel counterintuitive, I want you to listen to me for a second. Although it may feel counterintuitive, living in alignment with the sacred spiral of existence is the only stable foundation. Most of us think that stable foundations must be fixed. But here's a little perspective shift for you. We remain fixed in our following of the rhythm. So we remain steadfast in our devotion to the natural evolution and fluctuations of the rhythm, the sacred spiral of existence. And then from that firm, fixed resolve, we step onto the foundation that is actually always in motion. Does that make sense? So nature's rhythms are stable because they are alive, responsive, and true. And our sacred discipline anchors us into that surrendered ability to flow with them rather than against them or trying to control, override, or outsmart them. So rhythm is the intelligence of life moving through you. And a really key place to start is daily rhythm. So this must come first. Most people want the depth of root level healing and they want to go deep and they love this idea of seasonal living in the subtle ways and how that opens us up to the ability for greater healing and becoming and spiritual growth and all of this stuff. And they try to do that without a solid foundation of resolve to dance in the rhythm of life. So they want genuinely and with the most beautiful intentions this healing and insight and ritual and growth and transformation. But most of us are coming at it with a very dysregulated nervous system. And so if the basics are inconsistent, if the body does not feel safe, the deeper invitations cannot land. We cannot go there. Everything feels chaotic and unsafe. And then modern life just piles more of that energy on top of us. So we cannot hear and feel the subtleties of the seasons or say yes to the ever evolving nature of life when we're in that state. So, first, we need to anchor into a daily rhythm. And this is how we stabilize our systems and prepare ourselves for deeper work because a chaotic system can't do the deeper work. So, each day, like I said, has its own seasons, and how we live within a single day really matters. And this is how we stabilize the system and get really, really rooted and anchored. So we begin with that daily foundation. I teach 5 foundational daily practices inside of the Everyday Rhythms program, and they are really crucial for all of us to follow for optimal health and well-being from the inside out. And you'll notice that these aren't like, they're not like super sexy, trendy life hack, you know, whatever things. They're just really simple and natural and real. And I think that we're also getting more increasingly disconnected from the fact that life is simple, healing is simple, maintaining ourselves is simple. The glitzy, glamoury stuff is kind of I call them sexy distractors. We think that we need to go for that and really it's just a way of distracting us from ourselves, from discomfort. So these 5 things they're simple. And then notice as I'm saying them to you if you're like resisting them in some way. Because oftentimes it can feel easier to go out and get the really expensive copper coil grounding mat thing with the crystal hats and the all the stuff than it is to have a consistent sleep wake schedule. And no shade to the coppery coily grounding earth mats and crystals, but you don't need to start there. You know, those things can be fun, sure. But these 5 things I'm about to share are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. You need to do these 5 things every day anyway to be alive. And so it's about really being with them, really being with them. So, one is eating whole foods, real whole foods in their natural state. You know, ditch the like brown rice pasta, have some brown rice. The closer that it is to what nature made. Those packaged and refined foods are literally doing you absolutely zero favors. Zero favors. Having a consistent practice of deep rest and good sleep, consistent sleep wake schedule, intentionally using the breath every day. So, some breathing exercises, pranayama, moving your body every day in a way that is enjoyable and fun and sustainable. And then finally, daily self reflection and management of your energy. That's it. So these are not like wellness habits or life hacks or self improvement tasks or a checklist. They are what creates the condition to allow life to flow well through you. They are your root system and your daily anchor. This is what helps the nervous system to stabilize. This is what helps the body feel safer, for the energy to become more even, for the emotions to become more intelligible, for the mind to soften. And then when all of those are in place, you know, healing becomes more possible. Insights just reveal themselves spontaneously. You become more present, more sensitive, more available. And then we are able to really hear the subtle invitations of these layered and nuanced seasons. And we begin to more easily notice what is shifting and surfacing, what's being asked of us, what wants to deepen, release, emerge, or be tended. So with this rooting, things stop feeling so abstract or nebulous or scary, heavy, and they start to become clear and intimate. So it becomes something that we really feel, and it helps our own journey of evolution and growth become sweet and meaningful. So seasonal living, what does it actually look like? So it's listening, responding, refining, and participating in the cycles of life consciously. As I shared earlier, each season offers a specific flavor, a specific teaching, a specific threshold and invitation. And each season is a different, I like to think of it as like each of the season's specific invitations is like a different face of the divine coming to mirror something to me. So every time we experience a season, we'll learn something completely different. No two literal or more energetic springs are ever the same, for example. So no two, when I say literal springs, I mean like, you know, the time between like March and June are never going to feel the same. The weather's never the same. The way that the garden behaves is never the same. It might be spring, but they're never the same. They're always different. The conditions are always different. Therefore, the experience is always different. And what we learn and have access to is different. And then an example of a more kind of energetic or metaphorical spring could be anytime that we are a beginner at something, beginning a new project, taking on a new task or challenge or a new class, a new course, a new adventure. So that same kind of energy of beginning. And no two experiences of being a beginner are ever the same. So every time will be different, but it's the same kind of energy and invitation that spring offers, that it's going to work on me a little differently every time I experience it. So, just to reiterate, these seasons exist on a calendar, yes, these literal expressions, but they're also available to us at any time, living within and around us always, and guiding us through various aspects of our lives, from work projects to parenting to aging to processing life to healing the body and healing the mind and more. Relationships have different stages and seasons. Everything is just in this constant, multi-layered, ever evolvingness, and it's just gorgeous. I love it. So we're in different stages of various aspects of our lives simultaneously, and that's the beautiful dance of it all. Seasonal living becomes a lived relationship with the sacred spiral. So another way to think about these metaphorical and energetic expressions and states of the seasons, as well as the literal expressions, is kind of what they reveal to us, and it can be patterns, resistance, wounds, stories, gifts, the next layer of evolution. Winter, in its literal and or metaphorical expression, may invite stillness, rest, listening. Spring may invite beginnings, emergence, trust. Summer may invite expression, expansion, visibility. And autumn may invite release, boundaries, discernment. And if we're really grounded and anchored, stable, we can be shown what is ready within us to be seen and to dance in this ever evolving rhythm that is life. And then we can catch patterns easier, meet resistance with compassion instead of force, trust ourselves more. That's something that is huge and really, really happens and awakens. We feel guided. We stop self-abandoning. Our spiritual life deepens naturally. We stop trying to fix ourselves and start listening to ourselves, because we're no longer fighting. We're moving and dancing freely. And we build more resilience and sovereignty, devotion, alignment. It's a deeper relationship that we enter into with nature, with ourselves, and with the divine of our heart. So it's really a framework for life. And like I said, we start with the daily seasons, with those daily 5 practices, really anchoring those in, and stepping away from the sexy distractors that, like I said, can be fun, maybe have their place, but don't go worrying about all that other stuff until those 5 key self-care practices are like an anchored part of your life. That's where I would advise you to begin. So if you're listening and you're like, where do I start? It would be with those 5 daily practices. So whole real foods, regular meals of whole real foods, deep consistent rest, sleep wake schedule, consciously using the breath each day, moving daily, and reflecting honestly with yourself and managing your energy. So that is what I have for you today, my friends. Let your daily foundation make you more available to the wisdom of the sacred spiral that's already moving through your life. And remember that healing becomes more possible when you live in cooperation with life and with this rhythm instead of resisting it. So, rhythm is the root, and seasonal living helps you to engage in this ever evolving, ever expanding spiral of existence. And this is the way to truly live a resilient, aligned, alive, vibrant life. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.